Hey BC, this is Scott, or actually DJ Vinyl Vertigo. A little bit more audio diary of a Bronx boy. When I decided to get into music, I got into music in a very weird way. I got into becoming a musician in a very weird way. There was something called the Henry Street Settlement, and they were giving classes on acting and dance and writing and all that kind of stuff, and putting together plays and stuff. And they had professionals in the business who were teaching inner city youth these things that you would normally have to pay lots of money to go to take dance classes and acting classes and stuff. And this was subsidized by the city of New York, and so I took advantage of it. I was a really shy kid, and I decided that the way for me to get out of this shell that I was in is to put myself out there, to really put myself out there, to be a dancer or an actor or something, anything, a poet, whatever. Just something where I had to be in front of people and kind of display myself, as it were. And it did help. I really got out of myself. I learned to not be so self-conscious and not be afraid. And I realized that being a creative person was something that really, something that I really wanted to be. I wanted to be something in the entertainment business, even though my parents were against it. But there was nothing they could do to stop me. I mean, I was determined. And so anyway, I started hanging around with musicians as well. Young musicians who were doing punk and that kind of stuff, and hip hop and all that. And some of the bands that I knew they were writing music, but they didn't have lyrics. So they said, can you write us lyrics for this song or blah blah blah, whatever. So that's what I did. I wrote lyrics for bands, and it was fun to do that. But what happened was, when I was giving them the lyrics, they were like, "Well, I don't know what's the melody to this? Can you sing it for me?" I said, "Well, I'm not a singer." And they go, "Just sing it for me," So I would go through the song, and they were like, "The hell, you're not a singer. You are a singer. You can sing." And so I started, singing with certain bands and stuff. And I didn't do club stuff. I just kind of sung in studios with people when they were rehearsing, and I started to get work doing demo work, and I really got the bug. I was really into it, and I started auditioning, and I got involved with some bands, and some things worked out and some things didn't. Then I was trying to create my own situation with my ex, and we were trying to create a band together, and we were recording stuff and all that, but we weren't really getting anywhere. So I was still auditioning, and I just happened to see an ad in the trade papers. They were looking for American singer/dancers for a music tour. And I was like, ooh, that's cool. What the hell? What do I got to lose? So I went to this audition. There was all these guys there. Broadway gypsies and, all these guys that could, they could put their legs behind their heads. And I mean, they were just amazing people who had these resumes, And here I am. I had this wild, long, bushy hair, just all over the place, and I was tall and thin, and just very nothing special. In my opinion, nothing special. And then so when it came to the singing part, I just sang a song, and it was actually a song by Living in a Box. I think it was the song. I think it was "So the Story Goes." Might have been that. And so there was like about 100 guys there. I don't know, whatever. It was a lot of people. So they said thank you. That was the end of that. Then I got a call back, and it was like maybe 40, 50 guys. And this time you had to sing a song and you had to learn a routine. And we did it in groups. And so I loved the freestyle, but I wasn't really, I wasn't like a professional dancer or anything like that. So I did my thing. I kept up as much as I could, and then I was singing. That was that. Thank you, thank you. Then I got another call back, and it was like 10 of us or something. And so again, we had to learn a routine, had to sing a song, and this time there was a guy there, a little Japanese guy sitting, in the, out front. And it was eventually I found out it was Hiromi Go Hiromi-san, who was he was a big, huge star in Japan. He was like a Japanese Michael Jackson. And he came to the United States to find American dancer singers to back him up on tour in Japan in 1988. And so I did my dance thing. And then when it came time to singing, he would have each person had to sing a little bit, and they would stop you and sing, and he would walk around you. He would just kind of walk around you as you sang. And then they would tell you to stop singing, and he would walk around another person as he sang, and all kind of stuff. And he kept stopping where I was, and I was still singing. They said, don't stop singing until we tell you, And then they said, thank you. And I was like, okay, this is getting ridiculous. I'm not going to get picked. I mean, let's keep doing this. And then about a couple weeks later, I get a phone call, not for a callback. I got a phone call from his company saying, are you available to leave for Japan in May for 2 months? A tour of Japan. And I'm like, are you serious? Who is this? I couldn't believe it. I thought my friend was messing with me, because I told people about the audition, so I thought people were messing with me. No, they weren't messing with me. I got the job. So he picked me and this one other guy. His name was Steven. And he was a Broadway guy. He was like a Broadway, one of those kind of guys, and I was just this rock guy, and the third person was already cast, but she was already in Japan, and she was already a J-pop star. Before there was K-pop, there was J-pop. Her name is Carrie-Ann Inaba. And Carrie-Ann, as many of you might know, she's the host of Dancing with the Stars, or one of the judges or whatever. So, but she was really young at this point, Anyway, so I got the job, went to Japan. Long story short, it was one of the most amazing experiences of my life. It changed my life. It gave me the confidence to know that this is the industry that I want to be in. And so after that, I did a lot of work as a backup singer, as a lead vocalist for bands, session musician. I even did a couple of films, singing in films and things like that, independent films and stuff like that. So I was always working, especially as a singer. That became the thing for me. I found my niche, It wasn't, I still did some acting, but I was a singer. That was definitely where I felt most comfortable, and I felt most like nobody could tell me anything, kind of, you know what I mean? That kind of feeling. But when I was in Japan, and I'll talk about Japan in another video. I'll talk about all the crazy things that happened there, all the people that I met there. I met some pretty interesting people in Japan, including Miles Davis, but we'll talk about that another time. But I bought this record when I was in Japan. And it was a band that I had already known about. This was the time we were transitioning to CDs, and I still was like holding out and buying vinyl. This is the Style Council, Confessions of a Pop Group. This may have been probably their least liked album, and it did not do very well for them. But for me, this album was special because I bought it in Japan. This album reminds me of that period. I have a kind of a special place in my heart for this record, and I think it's a really good record. I just don't, I don't know what people don't like about this record, but it just did not do well. And I think since then it's become more of a popular album, but at the time it did not do well. It had the big song that was on here was Why I Went Missing. That was How She Threw It All Away. Those two songs were pretty big. But I also like It's a Very Big Sea, The Garden of Eden, Changing of the Guard. I love a lot of the songs on this record. I think it's a beautiful record. It's a very well recorded album, and it features DC Lee very well and some leads on here. DC Lee is the female vocalist in this band who came from Wham. She was a backup singer for Wham, and she ended up in Style Council. She ended up in a relationship with Paul Weller and became a mother of some of his children, and she's now a solo artist on her own in the UK. But I thought this was just a beautiful, beautiful album, and I just fell in love with the Style Council. So I just show you my collection of Style Council records. The backstory is I knew about the Style Council from other friends of mine who were music maniacs like me, who bought records all the time. And at that time, what was really hot for a lot of people were the Communards and Bronx Beat. Those were really hot, those were records that people really were buying a lot. And Erasure was really big in my circle. Depeche Mode, that kind of stuff. Of course, in hip hop. But that album really did it for me. But they had albums before that I didn't really pay attention to until later. I became obsessed with the Style Council after that, and I'll show you my obsession. They don't have a lot of albums. Their first album, the American version, is called My Ever-Changing Mood, but I think it was also called Cafe Blue. And this has really great songs. My Ever-Changing Mood, The Whole Point of No Return, Paris Match, and I think this is the one on this album is the one that's sung by Paul Weller. The Paris Match that I love is the one that's sung with them, with the Style Council, by Tracy Thorn from Everything But the Girl, and it's a real jazzy tune. It sounds like it could be on a Peggy Lee album or I don't know, a Julie London record. That's what it sounds like to me. Really beautifully sung, real dry and very pensive, and just really, really good. But this album really had a lot more love songs on it and emotional type stuff. They did have one song called, and I think that was an instrumental called "Dropping Bombs on the White House." So they were already political because Paul Weller comes from the Jam, and the Jam was pretty political. And they started out wanting to do something different, but he couldn't help himself. Actually, some of the songs that were on Cafe Blue were rejects from the Jam, because the Jam says, this doesn't sound like us. So he decided to make another band, where they said, well, it sounds like this band now, because I'm creating a band for these songs. So that's what he did. So Mick Talbot, who came from Dexys Midnight Runners, played keyboards for this band. He also had Steve White on this album. And of course, Steve White played the drums. And of course, Paul Weller plays the guitar and vocals on this. And DC Lee, I don't believe, is on this album yet. But she starts singing on some of the other albums later on. For example, the Internationalists. And as you can see, they're really rocking this very fashionista look. It's mod, but it's very fashionista. And if you saw the Jam, so what they look like when they were in the Jam fans were really freaked out by this. They were like, this does not look like my band. That's not Paul Weller. Who are these people? Like, what's going on here? So some of the fans really, they poo-pooed this stuff. They just thought, this is like poofta stuff. I don't like this. But there was a whole new scene, a whole new group of people that were really getting into the Style Council, dressing like the Style Council, dancing to Style Council music. And Style Council was bringing in the politics into the next record, which was the Internationalists, which has another name in the English. This is the American version. The English version is a different title, but Internationalists is the American version. And it has songs like Come to Milton Keynes. I think it's Our Favorite Shop was the name of the British version of it. I believe that's what it is. Stones Throw Away is on this. The Boy Who Cried Wolf, Man of Great Promise, The Lodger, which was really big, Shot at the Top, and Walls Come Tumbling Down. Walls Come Tumbling Down is really great. He really rocks on that one. But, and that's when they start doing these liner notes, these very interesting, silly liner notes. They're not real serious. It's kind of like a diary of the Cappuccino Kid. And I always thought the Cappuccino Kid was Paul Weller, but it actually was a guy by the name of Paolo Hewitt, who's a British music critic who worked for publications such as NME and stuff like that. But he moonlighted as their liner notes Cappuccino Kid guy on all their albums. They then came out with another live record called Home and Abroad, and has a lot of it's kind of like a compilation but live versions of their songs. And I've never seen them live, so I'm glad to get this live record. I have several live records of theirs, but on vinyl, this is what I have. They then they started to evolve, and again, the Jam fans were just not digging this, but the Style Council fans were really into it. But, you know, Paul Weller's restless, and he says, okay, the political stuff, I've had enough of this. He was getting disenchanted with the political scene in the UK. Actually, he was kind of pushed to do more political stuff by Billy Bragg, and he was happy to do so, but then he was very disappointed with what was going on, so he wanted to pull out of that whole political scene, and he came up with a straight soul record called The Cost of Loving. There is nothing about this record that's political. So the Jam fans who were holding on because of the political stuff now are faced with non-political record that was really soulful, that was Blue Eye Soul, straight up Blue Eye Soul, with a song like It Didn't Matter, which was like a mid-tempo dance tune. Heavens Above was a full-on dance tune. Angels, a soul ballad like you never believe. Waiting is another one that's a total soul ballad. Walk in the Night is another very 70s sounding soul ballad. So they really, really shook people up with this record, and it really was like, what's going on? I mean, people were holding on, but they were like, but this is a really fun album. It's a real soulful record. It feels like it could have been made in 1978, 1980. You know, it just had that feel. It had that 70s kind of feel to it. That just, it's just fun. It's kind of Jerry Butler-ish. It has that kind of stuff with Johnny Bristol, you know, that kind of stuff. Really cool. Cost of Loving. Wow, I got this at Sounds for $2.99. Sounds was a great record store. You get stuff really cheap. They had tons of records, and people just, it was a tight place, and you were like, you know, you kind of bumping butts with everybody, but who cares? And bumping shoulders with people digging through records. But I always found good stuff. And then, of course, the record that I finally bought of theirs, the for the first time, Style Council. This was, again, not a real popular, this was more the experimental record. It was kind of jazzy, kind of new agey, had a little hip hop in it. It was a little mixture of everything, and it just did not seem to work for people. They then, after that, came out with another record that was a house music. It was experimenting with house music, not the rave stuff, the old school house music. Boom, 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 boom. But it was that kind of stuff, and it really flopped. I mean, people were just not having it at that point. And at that point, the Style Council themselves had lost interest in the Style Council, and they pretty much went their separate ways. Paul Weller became a solo artist. DC Lee became a solo artist. Steve White ended up drumming for Paul Weller, and then Mick Talbot was playing keyboards all over the place. So they all found their way. But the Style Council's here to stay in my mind. I own all their, as much records as I can find of theirs. I have a lot of their stuff on CD. I also have a lot of their singles. Their singles are really cool. The 12-inch singles are very cool. They all have liner notes from the Cappuccino Kid, and it's always fun to read these. They're so weird and fun. And the photographs are really great to look at. They have that real 50s look to them, 60s actually look to them. Kind of like the French, French wave kind of stuff. It's got that kind of look. Well, of course, this is in France, à Paris, and it's really good stuff on here. This has just 4 tracks. It has Long Hot Summer, which is great. Le Depart, an instrumental track, Party Chambers, and also a Paris Match. And this is the one I think this is the one that Tracy Thorn sings on, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but I think that's the one. Yeah, it might be the one. There's also this one I did not open. I bought this. This is a 1984 UK Press 12-inch Style Council Groovin'. And this has a Big Boss groove on it, and You're the Best Thing. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. Yeah. And this is from Cafe Blue. I think Cafe Blue has the Tracy Thorn version. And this one has the Paris Match that's the Paul Weller version. So they both sing this song. They both sing it well, but I prefer the Tracy Thorn one. And it has the caricatures of them on the back. The singles are so well done. They're not just boring, like they don't just put a sleeve on there. It's actually got a lot of information just for the single. The singles are just as useful as the full-length albums and the EPs. Here's another one that I think that they got this style of using this kind of a photograph. That's Mick Talbot there, from the Smiths. I think it's very Smiths-like. That's what I was thinking. And this one is Walls Come Tumbling Down and Spin Drifting with The Whole Point Part 2 and Blood Sports. And this has some new songs on it that are not on the album. That is, I forget which album this is from. Yeah. Probably Internationalist. Yeah. And then they've got this one, Promised Land. And this has the club mix and the piano Pella mix of Promised Land. It's a promo copy. Can You Still Love Me, club mix, and the dub mix on this. And again, it has the Cappuccino Kid writing on the back. Look at the graphics on that. It's just a single. They really put a lot of thought into their singles. And then this is a live single, live tracks, Style Council. The Lodgers extended mix. I think that's the studio, but the rest of it's all live. Big Boss Groove, Move On Up, which is a Curtis Mayfield / Intruder song. Not Intruders, Impressions song, yeah. Money Go Round, Soul Deep, Strength of Your Nature medley, and You're the Best Thing on here. Yeah. And this is featuring DC Lee. That's the first time they ever said that, featuring DC Lee. So she's on this a lot. So, I love having all this stuff. And then, of course, the CD era comes in. And I'm listening to CDs, so I've got tons of CDs. The Cost of Loving on CD. I already showed you that. This is a comp here. The Singular Adventures. The Singular Adventures of Style Council. There's all their great hits on here. This is Café Bleu. It's an EP. It's really good. Is introducing the Style Council, and I'm sure this is just for Americans, you know, or other countries. Introducing the Style Council. Long Hot Summer's on here. Head Start for Happiness, Speak Like a Child, Long Hot Summer, Paris Match, Mix Up, and Money Go Round. So it's all no filler. It's all killer, no filler on this one. Style Council in concert. On this record, they do One Nation Under a Groove on here. Yeah. And they do, I believe, Move On Up as well, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they do Move On Up as well on this, and all their songs. So that's pretty fun to listen to that. Here's something that got away, rare and unreleased tracks from the Style Council. So it's always fun to listen to some other tracks of theirs that they were developing and that didn't make it on any albums. This is Our Favorite Soup, which I think is the British version of... What's the British version of this one? My Ever-Changing Moods. Now the thing about this cover, on the back, they're in a little shop, and in the back, if you could notice this, the Beatles references in there. There's also Otis Redding references in there. It's pretty cool. Twiggy. It's very 60s. So I'm very glad to get this record. It's kind of cool to see that. There's also a comp, Greatest Hits, another Greatest Hits. This has less tracks on it, but it's still Style Council. I'll buy anything Style Council. I'm a sucker for them. And then, of course, I have two versions of Confessions of a Pop Group, and they have different listings. You know, the order, the set order is different on these two albums. I think they're reversed. This is the Holland version, and I think this has the original list, the original order, and this is the American version, which has a reversed order. I don't know why it has a reversed order, a separated order, but hey, no matter what order you're hearing these songs in, the songs are great, in my opinion. There's one other CD that came out later. It's a double CD, and this is called Long Hot Summer's Story of Style Council. And I think this is a companion to the documentary that's about them getting back together and doing some of these songs. And this is a double CD. It's basically a long comp, you know. So if you just want to listen to a bunch of Style Council, you don't want to keep looking for it on different albums, you got everything here, all the hits, you know. And one more thing that I do have, I have tons of Paul Weller records. I have a lot of the Jam. I started getting into the Jam afterwards, and I said, oh, I see what people are talking about. But I got this, I found this at a record sale, and it was half off or whatever, and I had to get it. Style Council. It's their whole history. It's called The Complete Adventures of Style Council. It's all their recordings. It's all the stuff I showed you, and then some. Even that house music album is on here. A lot of the stuff that just did not sell at all. And I don't even think you can find that house music album anywhere but in this. So I was able to find this. And it has a booklet inside that has photographs and the history of the Style Council. You know, it's good stuff. Good stuff. Has also, this is the weirdest thing, it has a lyric sheet that has lyrics of all of their main songs, and I'm telling you, you need a magnifying glass. I mean, really? I mean, it's nice that they have this, but I'll never read it. I mean, I'm not 12, I'm not 20. I don't have eyesight for this anymore. Are you kidding me? Anyway, but in here are all the CDs. It's about 5 CDs. And maybe one of these days I'll do a needle drop for some of it. Not today. I'm tired. It's Christmas time. I got stuff going on. And this is my second try at doing this video, because the first try I was just all over the place. Like I'm all over the place now, but less over the place right now than I was the first time around. I was like, and at the very end I go, this video sucks. I did. I said it, and I said, oh well, I guess I'm not gonna share that one. Start over. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope that if you have not gotten into Style Council, if you've never heard of them, maybe you might want to pick up a record or two of theirs, or at least stream them on Spotify or wherever, whatever service you stream with. They're a lot of fun. They're very interesting. Paul Weller is a major talent. And at this time, he was trying something different. He was experimenting with a different sound than what he was noted for. He could have stayed with the jam. He could have stayed with that sound, but he felt very constricted, and he wanted to open up his horizons to other things. And he went very extreme to the other thing. He got away from hard edge rock and got into jazz and pop and soul and R&B and dance music, and it served him for a while. And I think he just said, you know, enough's enough. It's time for me to change again. And he became Paul Weller, the solo artist, singer-songwriter, rock and roller, and he's just doing it. He's matured as an artist, and I always will love his work. I always will buy his work. I always will follow him. And he's I'm inspired by him big time. And if, you know, you find that you never did get into Style Council, maybe it's time you might want to check him out and see, give him a chance. I mean, especially if you love the jam and you said, I don't like the Style Council because of the jam. Forget that. That's a different time. That was a different period of his time. And he's not negating that. It's just that he wanted to move on, and he didn't stick with the Style Council either. He went on to do his own thing as a solo artist, and it's nothing like the Style Council. So, and it's still good. So there you have it. If I don't do any other videos after this for a few days, I just want to say Merry Christmas to you. Happy holiday. Hope you and your families are doing well and getting together and loving one another. Whoa. That was my dryer. Oh, that shocked me. I'm leaving that in. Anyway, guys, maybe I'll see you at Rachel's Ghost tomorrow. I guess the dryer was telling me to shut up and just say, listen to great music. And don't ever put the dryer on when you're doing a video. I'm leaving it in. Take care.